Hello, this is Neil Baum from New Orleans, and this is going to be a little bit of a different video than I have done in the past. My previous videos, I tried to focus on the business associated with a medical practice and how to improve the efficiency and productivity of a medical practice, emphasizing the importance of staff motivation. Ultimately, I'm hoping to convince you to become small businessmen and business women. This video, different from the previous videos, I'm going to go back in history to 1948 and tell you the story of Lyndon Johnson's kidney stone. Lyndon Johnson was running for the U.S. Senate seat from Texas. He was deadlocked in a race that favored the Texas governor, Coke Stevenson. LBJ was a political innovator. He had techniques for enhancing fundraising, for polling the voters, for voter outreach. And he was the first person to campaign using a helicopter to travel to multiple locations in a day in order to increase his exposure to the electorate. In the election for Senate in 1948, LBJ developed an obstructing kidney stone in the proximal third of his ureter. He developed fever, chills, and flank pain. He required hospitalization for relief of the pain, and he was offered a ureterolithotomy. Initially, LBJ refused the operation because he knew he would have to suspend his campaign for 4 to 6 weeks if he underwent open surgery. The pain in his flank persisted, and LBJ called his aide to arrange a press conference and to indicate that LBJ was going to drop out of the race. Lady Bird Johnson arrived shortly to the hospital and put some calm in the situation and suggested to LBJ and his doctors that he obtain a second opinion. LBJ went to the Mayo Clinic where he met Dr. Gershom Thompson, who had the greatest experience in endoscopic stone removal. However, he had no experience in removing an upper third ureteral stone using a rigid instrument. Dr. Thompson agreed to the surgery, and he attempted the removal and was successful using a rigid cystoscope. Shortly thereafter, LBJ had a prompt recovery. He immediately returned to the campaign, and he ultimately won the race over the governor of Texas for the 1948 U.S. Senate seat from the state of Texas. Now that history raises several questions, and I call them what if questions. Consider how might the world and the United States have changed if LBJ did not have a successful endoscopic retrieval of his proximal ureteral stone and had to drop out of the race and was won by the Texas governor. LBJ may have become lost from history, and the world might have been entirely different. Let's look at LBJ's legacy when he became president following the assassination of John Kennedy in 1963. LBJ made many promises to continue with the Kennedy agenda, and he resulted in, within 2 years, he kept all of those promises and all of those goals, including getting bipartisan agreement with both Democrats and Republicans. When he took over the presidency, there were only 20,000 Americans in Vietnam, and most of the Americans that were there were advisors to the South Vietnamese Army. By 1968, just a few years later, there were over 500,000 American soldiers in Vietnam. By the end of the war, there were over 50,000 American lives lost. As a result of LBJ's participation in the war and increasing the escalation of the war, his approval rating dropped from 70 to 40%. And as a result, in 1968, he dropped out of the presidential race. This raises several what-if questions. What if LBJ did have that open surgery and dropped out of the race? What if we didn't have two government healthcare programs, Medicare and Medicaid, that were instituted and approved during the Johnson administration? What if today we didn't have a healthcare budget that exceeds $4 trillion per year? What if we had a single payer system? What if the Affordable Care Act had not been enacted by President Obama several decades later? What if our electronic medical record system really did improve outcomes and decrease the cost of medical care? What if a doctor could enter data into the electronic medical record using his or her voice without typing? What if we could put more enjoyment and fun and the gratification that we so long desire back in the practice of medicine? What if we could conquer burnout, which is impacting nearly 50% of medical practices today? So the bottom line is, maybe it is time to ask some what if questions. Maybe if we ask some of these vital questions, we can really find ways to repair the current healthcare system. Well, I hope you found this reaching back into history interesting, and perhaps maybe you too will be asking some what if questions. If you have any comments or suggestions, please let me hear from you at the email address shown in this last slide. Thank you.